Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Dr. Mangesh Doshi, working as assistant professor in Maratha Vidyaprasarg Samaj, Nashik. Friends, in last video, we have seen thermal methods of analysis, that is thermogravimetry, introduction to the thermogravimetry. In this video, we are going to learn applications of thermogravimetric analysis, that is thermal methods of analysis. Friends, thermogravimetric analysis can be used to evaluate kinetic parameters like order of reactions N and energy of activation EA. The relation between thermal data and the kinetic parameters is proposed by different authors on the basis of different assumptions of kinetic theory and Arrhenius equation. The most commonly used thermal equation is proposed by the Cote and Redfern. The equation derived by the Cote and Redfern for the calculation of energy of activation, frequency factor and order of the reaction is as follows. Log of in bracket 1 minus 1 minus alpha raised to 1 minus n divided by t square in bracket 1 minus n is equal to log of AR minus AE in bracket 1 minus 2 RT upon E bracket complete minus E upon 2.303 RT. This is for N is equal to, that is order of the reaction 0, half, 2 by 3, 3 by 4, etc. The next equation is for N is equal to 1, that is order 1, log of minus in bracket 1 minus alpha divided by t square is equal to log of AR divided by AE 1 minus 2 RT upon E minus E upon 2.303 RT. In this equation, where alpha is equal to the fraction of original substance which is decomposed at time t. Alpha can be calculated W0 minus W divided by W0 minus WF. In these equations, W0 is the initial weight of the substance, W the weight of the substance after time t, WF that is final weight of the substance, N is the order of reaction, capital A that is a frequency factor, capital E energy of activation, R gas constant and small a that is a heating rate, that is in degree per minute. Friends, if you plot the graph of this value uh, versus 1 upon t for n is equal to 0, 1 half, 2 by 3 and 3 by 4, as well as if we plot a graph log of this value, that is minus 1 minus alpha divided by t square versus 1 upon t for n is equal to 1. If you plot this graph, then the plot is straight line having an intercept with negative slope. The value of n giving the best fitting curve in the order of the reaction. The value of activation energy and the frequency factor A are calculated from the slope and intercept of the best fitting curve. Now friends, we will see factors affecting the thermogravimetric curves. The factors which affect the thermogravimetric curves can be classified into mainly two classes. First one is instrumental factors and second one is characteristics of the particular sample. First, we will see instrumental factors. First factor is a heating rate. Friends, the gravimetric curve depends upon the heating rate. If a substance is heated at faster rate, then it decomposes at higher temperature. While if it is heated at slower rate, it decomposes at lower temperature. For example, the polystyrene decomposes at 394 degrees Celsius when it is heated at the rate of 5 degree Celsius per minute, and that decomposes at 375 degrees, that is less than less than 394 degrees Celsius, when it is heated at the rate 1 degree Celsius per minute. So thermogravity curve that depends upon the heating rate. If that is slower, that will be different. If that is slower, then curves will be different. Second factor is Fernand's atmosphere. The atmosphere in the furnace also affects the nature of the thermogravimetric curve. For example, the decomposition of calcium carbonate takes place at higher temperature when the furnace atmosphere is of CO2 gas, that is carbon dioxide gas, than when it is of nitrogen gas. The furnace atmosphere is kept according to the nature of the sample. Generally, one of the following furnace atmospheres is used in the thermogravimetric analysis. Those are static air, dynamic air, and inert atmosphere. Static air, in this case, the air from the atmosphere is allowed to flow through the furnace. So whatever the air, atmospheric air is allowed to pass through the furnace, that is called as static air. Dynamic air, here the compressed air from the cylinder is allowed to pass through the furnace at a measured flow rate. In this case, a compressed air that is allowed to pass through the furnace with a determined rate of flow, that is called as the dynamic air. Third one is inert atmosphere. Inert atmosphere means nitrogen gas that is free from oxygen is used as an inert atmosphere. So these are the instrumental factors. Third factor is sample holder. So shape and size of the sample holder can change the nature of thermogravimetric curve. Sample holders in the form of flat plates, crucibles are used. Generally, shallow dish like a petri dish is preferred in other shapes to the other shapes because it ensures more uniform heating and rapid exchange of gases between sample and the surrounding atmosphere like furnace atmosphere. So these are the instrumental factors which affects the thermogravimetric curves. Next factors are the characteristic of the sample. So sample has also particular characteristics, those also affects the gravimetric analysis. First is weight of the sample. A smaller weight of the sample gives better result than the larger weight, which causes deviation from the linear curve of the weight loss with rise in temperature. This observation is made when calcium oxalate is decomposed to given calcium carbonate with evolution of carbon monoxide. So weight of the substance, the weight of the sample is also matters how to get the thermogravimetric curve. Second factor is a particle size of the sample. If the particle size of the sample is small, then the decomposition takes place at lower temperature. If particle size is large, then decomposition temperature will be higher. Third factor is heat of reaction. The heat of reaction, that is heat evolved or absorbed, makes the temperature of the sample and the furnace different. If the reaction is exothermic, means heat is getting evolved, then the temperature of the sample is more than that of the furnace. On the other hand, if the reaction is endothermic, means reaction gets or absorbs the energy in the form of heat. That is, if the reaction is endothermic, the sample temperature is less than that of furnace. This affects the nature of the thermogravimetric curve. Fourth factor is a compactness of sample. So the compressed sample will decompose at higher temperature than the loose sample. The loose sample decomposes at lower temperature. Fifth factor is the source of sample. So if the sample is derived from the two different sources, then its decomposition temperature is also different. For example, magnesium hydroxide. If that is obtained from the precipitation method, then it has a different thermogravimetric curve than the natural source which decomposes at different temperature. So these are the factors affects the thermogrametric curves. Now we see the applications of thermogrametric analysis. Some of the important applications of thermogrametric analysis are: first one is the determination of purity and thermal stability of both primary and secondary standards used in volumetric analysis. So, the thermogrametric analysis is an important technique for the assessment of purity of the materials such as analytical grade reagent, which are used in primary standards in volumetric analysis. For example, potassium hydrogen thalate, sodium carbonate, sodium tetraborate. So these are the primary standards, have a little tendency to absorb water when exposed to the atmosphere. Thermogrametric analysis data gives the extent of the water which are absorbed by these substances. So we are getting a correct drying temperature for the particular reagent. Second application is determination of correct drying temperature and the suitability of various weighing forms of grametric analysis. Third application is determination of composition of complex mixtures. So this can be used to find out what is the composition of complex mixtures. If there is a mixture of two or more compounds or salts. Determination of suitable ignition temperature. For the gravimetric analysis, we should know the ignition temperature of the particular salts, particular precipitate. So for that purpose, thermogrametric analysis is very useful to get a suitable ignition temperatures of that salts or precipitate. Fifth is the direct application for the analytical problems. So this can be used for the identifications or determination of particular components which are present in the mixture. So this can be used for the direct application, direct calculation for the analytical problems. Now we'll see in details, that is applications of thermogrametric analysis. The curve gives information about drying temperature of the precipitate. Suppose this is a thermogrametric curve for CuSO4 5H2O. The thermogrametric curve gives information about drying temperature of the precipitate obtained in the gravimetric analysis. The suitable ignition temperature of the compound can also be determined. For example, this is the thermogrametric curve for CuSO4 5H2O, the pentahydrate copper sulfate. If you heated this pentahydrate copper sulfate solution, it gives this like this thermogrametric curve. These are the stages where thermogrametric change in masses occur. So if you heated this pentahydrous copper sulfate at 90 to 150, then 4 water molecule will lose. Then at 200 to 275, copper sulfate becomes anhydrous. Then copper sulfate, if you heat it at 700 to 900, then it converts into cuprous oxide, SO2 and oxygen molecule. This cuprous oxide, if you heat it, so it gives us Cu2O at 1000 to 1100 degrees Celsius. So it can be seen from this thermogrametric curve that anhydrous CuSO4 is formed at 275 degrees and the cuprous oxide is formed at 1000 degrees Celsius. So depending upon the requirements, pentahydrous copper sulfate is ignited at appropriate temperature. Suppose if you want this substance copper sulfate plus H2O, then you have to heat at 90 to 150 degrees Celsius. If we want cuprous oxide, then we have to heat at 1000 to 1100 degrees Celsius. So from this one, we are getting a drying temperature as well as ignition temperature, appropriate temperature. So it has been seen from this TGA curve that anhydrous cuprous oxide is formed at 275 degrees and cuprous oxide is formed at above 1000 degrees Celsius. Depending upon the requirements, that is CuSO4 5H2O is ignited at appropriate temperature. Second application is the TJ curves gives correct information about decomposition stages of the compound. So this is the curve for decomposition of hydrated calcium oxalated, that is CaC2O4 2H2O. This shows a 3 stages. This is the first stage, 134 to 226. This is the second stage, that is 396 to 478, and this is the third stage, that is 635 to 838. So these are the reactions of all these 3 stages. First stage is calcium oxalate dihydrate is converted into anhydrous calcium oxalate at 100 to 250 degrees Celsius. Decomposition of calcium oxalate into calcium carbonate and CO at 400 to 500 degrees Celsius. While calcium carbonate is converted to the calcium oxide and CO2 at 650 to 850 degree Celsius. While if you decomposed this magnesium oxalate, then there will be only 2 stages. One is from 100 to 250 and second is from 650 to 850. In comparison to the calcium oxalate, magnesium oxalate has only 2 decomposition stages. Friends, thermogravimetric analysis can be used to determine the composition of binary mixtures if each of them shows a distinct thermogravimetric curve. The resultant curve of the mixture can be used for the determination of the composition. Friends, now we will learn about differential thermal analysis, that is DTA, a technique in which the difference in temperature between sample and non-reactive reference material is monitored when the two substances subjected to an identical heating program. The thermal curve is a plot of difference in temperature between sample and reference as a function of the temperature difference between sample and the reference when sample does not undergo any chemical and physical change. However, if the reaction takes place, there will be a temperature difference, that is delta T, between sample and reference material. Friends, this is just a difference between temperature of the sample and non-reactive material. So here, suppose this is the linear, that is temperature increase in linear fashion, furnace temperature. Similarly, this is the reference increase in temperature, both are linear because this reference is unreactive, while this is the sample. So sample temperature is also linear at some stages, but at a melting point it get melts, temperature won't increase, so there will be the parallel line. Again, if that substance completely melts down, then the temperature will increase linearly. Again, if the change is endothermic, the sample temperature is lower than the reference material. When the sample melts or it dehydrates, sample temperature is lower. Friends, that can be seen by this another graph, that is temperature difference versus time. Temperature difference versus time. So here physical changes usually results in an endothermic peak, while oxidative chemical reaction shows a exothermic peaks. So these are the peaks. See here, exothermic peak and melting peaks. So there will be the temperature difference. So this is the temperature difference. The schematic diagram For the DTA, that is differential thermal analysis, the DTA apparatus has following basic components. These are the components you can see easily. This is the heating block and cell assembly. Here will be the vacuum, inert gases, coolant event that can be monitored by the temperature programmer and controller. Rate change, starting the temperature. Here the recorder is there. Range control for the temperature, and some noise parameters, high gain to low noise parameters, differential temperature signals. So these are the parameters. We'll see one by one. First one is the sample cell. Sample cell. The sample cell is a tube about 2 mm in diameter, having a capacity holding 0.1 to 10 mg sample. A similar tube carries a reference material, which is alumina or quartz, that is R, alumina or quartz, that is R. The two tubes are placed in metallic or ceramic blocks. So these are the two tubes which are placed in the ceramic or metal uh, blocks. The thermocouples are inserted into a sample and reference tube. So these are the tubes, sample and reference tube. So these are the thermocouples which are inserted into sample as well as reference tubes. Next is furnace. So this is all is furnace. So the furnace is used to generally high temperature, pressure, vacuum, electric type. Sample temperature may vary from 190 degrees to 1600 degrees Celsius. Next is temperature programmer and controller. So this is temperature programmer and controller. The temperature programmer and provides the required heating and cooling rate. Modern differential thermal analysis instrument make use of solid state electronic temperature controller. In these controllers, the signal from the thermocouple in the furnace is compared electronically against a reference potential, which can be programmed to give a number of heating modes and heating rates. For that purpose, temperature programmer and controller is used. Next is amplifier and recorder. So these are the amplifier and recorder. The signal is obtained from the thermocouple is amplified. So these are the thermocouples. So signal is obtained from these thermocouples, that is amplified about 1,000 times by high gain low noise DC amplifier, which gives to the recorder. The recorder changes the temperature x-axis and the temperature of the furnace, that is y-axis. So we will get the plot. So this is the temperature change, that is differential thermal analysis. We will get the graph. What are the applications of thermal? What are the applications of differential thermal analysis? So differential thermal analysis finds following application. So first one is DTA, that is differential thermal analysis, can be used to study any process in which heat is absorbed or evolved. The temperature at which the peak are observed in the thermal curve can be used for the qualitative analysis. What is the composition of the sample? It's determined from this differential thermal analysis by the peaks. It is used to determine the specific heat of the substances. So what is the specific heat of the particular substance? That can be determined by this differential thermal analysis. It is used to detect energy changes occurring during melting and polymorphic transitions. So this technique is useful in constructing the phase diagram of the system. So for the particular sample, this technique can be used for the phase diagram. It is used to determine directly the melting point of the substance and hence to check the purity of the compound, because melting point is the characteristic property for the compound. So by using the melting points we can check the purity of the compound. It can be used for the quality control of the large number of substances like cement, glass, soil, catalyst, and polymers. So for the purity checks, quality check, we can use this differential thermal analysis. Now we'll compare the thermogrammetric analysis and differential thermogrammetric analysis, that is thermal analysis. So this is thermogrammetric analysis and differential thermogrammetric analysis. The weight loss or gain measured as a function of temperature and time, that is called as thermogrammetric analysis. While in differential thermal analysis, the temperature difference between sample and reference is measured as a function of temperature. Curve appears as steps involving horizontal and curved portions, while curves shows upward and downward peaks. Instrument used in thermogrammetric analysis is a thermobalance, while in DTA the instrument used is a DTA apparatus. TJ gives the information only for the substances which shows a change in mass on heating. So this is very particular, where the substance on heating shows a change in mass, that gives the information in TGA, while in DTA can be used to study any process in which heat is absorbed or evolved. So that can be used for heat absorbed or evolved. Qualitative analysis is done from the thermal curves by measuring loss of mass in TGA, while in DTA qualitative analysis is done by the measuring peak area and peak height. TGA temperature normally up to 1000 degrees Celsius, while in DTA the temperature normally up to 1600 degrees Celsius. So now we'll see the problems based on this thermogrammetric analysis and DTA. First problem is that calculate the percentage mass loss for the following reactions. First reaction is calcium carbonate on heating gives calcium oxide and carbon dioxide, and second reaction is calcium hydroxide on heating gives CaO and H2O. So first we'll see for the first reaction. The percentage loss in mass can be calculated by writing molecular weight of each species. So there are three species in first reaction, that is calcium carbonate. Suppose that is 100 gram, that is molecular weight is 100. CaO molecular weight is 56, so that can be considered as 56 gram. CO2 molecular weight is 44, that is considered as a 44 gram. So if 100 gram of CaCO3 gives 44 gram of CO2, it means that 100 gram of CaCO3, that is calcium carbonate, gives around 44% of the CO2. So 100 into 45 divided by 100 is equal to 44. So percentage loss in mass is 44%. For the second reaction again, that is calcium hydroxide to CaO and H2O. So in this case also the loss in mass is due to evolution of H2O in the form of gas, that is loss of water. So we should know the molecular masses, that is molecular weight for each compound. So calcium hydroxide, that is 74 gram, calcium oxide, that is 56 gram, H2O, that is 18 gram. So 75 gram of Ca, that is calcium hydroxide, gives 18 gram of H2O. If 100 gram of calcium hydroxide gives, then 100 into 18 divided by 100 is equal to 24.3%. So the percentage loss in mass of calcium hydroxide is 24.3%. So in this way, if we know the molecular weights, we can calculate the loss in mass in a percentage. Problem number second, the thermal curve of 125.7 milligram sample that obtained a mixture of calcium oxalate monohydrate, molecular weight is 146.12, and the thermally stable salt has a mass loss around delta M is around 6.98 gram at onset temperature is about 140 degrees Celsius, the corresponding to the vaporization of the water. Determine the percentage of CaCO2. Friends, in this case, the mixture of two samples is heated. The total sample weight is 125.7 gram. One is thermally stable, while second one molecule losses. So that molecule losses, that is the calcium oxalate. So the reaction in which percentage loss in mass is, that is calcium oxalate monohydrate gives calcium oxalate plus H2O. So calcium oxalate loses the mass. So loss of mass, that is delta M, is due to loss of H2O from the calcium oxalate. So delta M is given, that is 6.98 mg is due to loss of H2O. So it in other compound thermally stable, it does not give any loss in weight. From delta M, it is possible to calculate the original mass of calcium oxalate. So one molecule of H2 is equal to the one molecule of calcium oxalate. It means that by using the molecular weight, 18 mg is equivalent to the 146.12 mg. So that loss of molecule or loss of weight, that is 6.98 from the xmg. So by using the cross multiplication, S, that is weight of the calcium oxalate, is equal to 146 into 12 into 6.98 divided by the 18. So x will be 56.6 mg. So this is the weight for calcium oxalate, which loses the weight of the sample around 6.98 milligram. So 6.98 milligram losses from the 56.6 mg of calcium oxalate monohydrate sample. So to calculate the percentage of calcium oxalate monohydrate in a sample, so that was the mixture of calcium oxalate and one is thermal salt. So in that mixture, what is the percentage of calcium oxalate monohydrate? So 125.7 mg of the sample contains 56.6 mg calcium oxalate monohydrate. So that the 100 gram of sample contains 100 into 56.6 divided by 125.7, that is the cross multiplication. So we will get the sample contains 45.02% of calcium oxalate. So friends, in this way we can solve the problems. Thank you.